Right now on Morning News Now, Idalia's wrath. It was one of Florida's most powerful hurricanes in more than a century. This morning, millions of people are picking up the pieces left behind by Idalia one day after it made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. Now entire neighborhoods are in ruins from heavy rain, torrential flooding, and destructive winds.
I don't think anybody expected it to be this bad.
Nobody's going to get power for weeks.
We're getting a closer look at the damage as Idalia makes its way out of the region. We have team coverage with a look at the devastation, the cleanup, and where the storm is headed next. Also this morning, new concerns about the health of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell after another scare caught on camera. The senator once again appearing to freeze for more than 30 seconds during a news conference. What we know about this second incident that's raising questions about his ability to serve. Plus, matters of the heart. New research is shedding light on the impact of stress and the lack of sleep on postmenopausal women. We'll talk to a doctor about the heart condition that's impacting millions of women. And flying solo, a new trend when it comes to travel. More people are ditching their travel buddies and exploring new places on their own. What you need to know if you're thinking of a last-minute solo Labor Day vacay.
Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Thursday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Valerie Castro in for Savannah Sellers. We begin this morning with the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia.
Florida is just beginning to assess the damage after the storm made landfall in the Big Bend region yesterday. Idalia hit Florida's coast as a Category 3 hurricane with winds near 125 miles an hour. This gives you an idea of what Floridians are dealing with this morning. Debris is everywhere. Power lines and trees toppled and roofs ripped right off buildings. This woman describes the frightening moment when her roof collapsed with her family inside.
The top of the roof just caved, slapped in on me and my 3 kids and my grandson. My daughter is pregnant. She's 5 months pregnant, so she was laying on the side of the bed where the roof was coming in, and it fell on her, but I was able to pull her out of it.
Glad to hear they're doing okay. Idalia's flooding also brought dangerous storm surges of up to 16 feet. That left some homes, businesses, and cars almost completely underwater. Some on Florida's Gulf Coast say they were forced to even swim out of their windows to escape the waves of water crashing through their front doors. Idalia also rolled through Georgia and South Carolina as a powerful tropical storm. These images show the heavy rain, the winds, and the flooding that hit Charleston. And that is where we find NBC's Wendy Woolfolk, who joins us from Charleston. Wendy, good morning. The storm brought heavy rain and flooding all along the coast. How high did the floodwaters get where you are? What are you seeing right now?
Joe, Valerie, good morning to both of you. The sun is starting to come up and daylight is definitely going to give us a better perspective about that damage here in the low country. High tide hit overnight and hit a record, the 5th highest here in Charleston at 9.2 feet. That's also because of the storm surge mixed with the king, I guess it's called the king tide because of the super moon with the storm surge and then the high tide all colliding together. We are going to go out and survey that damage, but this area is no stranger to the flooding in this low country. But still, it was a rough night, a rough go. But thankfully, the conditions have subsided, that rain and the wind moving north as North Carolina is still under a tropical storm warning at this point. The Charleston International Airport did halt flights last night, but they are hoping to resume operations at some point later this morning.
So, Wendy, before the storm got to South Carolina and Georgia, it hit Florida, specifically Florida's Big Bend region. It was a Category 3 hurricane when it made landfall. It's the strongest hurricane to make landfall in the Big Bend region since 1896. We're talking about the 19th century here. So what does the early damage assessment look like for that area?
I think the good news, Joe, is the fact that the Big Bend area is not as densely populated as some of the other coastal areas. So what they're really dealing with are those downed trees and the power lines. Now, certainly the structures and buildings and homes were no match for those 120, 125 mile an hour winds that Idalia brought with it when it came on shore. But let's think about it. It's not even been 24 full hours since the storm made landfall. And yet it hit 4 states, and we are looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 312 1,000 customers without power still from Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina. And I think that is going to be one of the most significant challenges to them. I've heard that there is one community in Florida at this point 100% outage. So they are waking up with no power. They're waking up to bugs, to the heat, and a long road ahead of them. This was a quick moving storm, but it's not going to be a quick moving cleanup. You know, we're talking about not days or weeks, but certainly months, even years ahead of us.
All right, Wendy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Joining us now is Deputy Chief Jason Cruson from the Charleston Fire Department. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Give us a sense of what you're seeing there in Charleston this morning.
Well, our crews are going to be heading out first thing this morning to start conducting some of their damage assessment. We did see a pretty significant flood yesterday with the waters coming over the low battery there, as you saw pictured. And but we ended up pretty well. Obviously, we fared much better than Florida, so our thoughts go out to them while they're starting their recovery process today. But it was very safe. We're lucky our responders were well prepared, and our community listened to us and stayed home and stayed out of the way.
Speaking of your crews being well prepared, what are the challenges that they're going to be facing throughout the morning? Are there any challenges that you were dealing with overnight?
Yeah, so as I said, we're starting our damage assessments. We didn't have very many power outages, so the winds spared us pretty well. We did have significant flooding, so we'll be going out today, starting with the debris cleanup and starting to clear some of the roadways that may be blocked. Our flooding has subsided pretty well. We have pumps in place to go ahead and get some of the low-lying areas that didn't clear out themselves once the low tide turned around on us. But yeah, it's really just going to be going out and starting that assessment this morning.
And once that stage of this is over, the assessment is over, what is the next focus throughout the day, maybe even into tomorrow? Do you have the resources that you need for what's next?
Yes. So as I said, we fared pretty well. So we're not really concerned with being able to handle it. Unfortunately, I guess we see this all too often. So our crews are well prepared. We have a really good game plan. So we'll be coming out of the gates first thing this morning with doing the damage assessments and starting with some of that debris cleanup.
Given that your crews will be out assessing things, looking for damage, what's the advice for local residents? What should they be doing?
The biggest thing is we urge them to stay home, give us some time to get out and make a good assessment and determine. Our police officers were out last night blocking off a lot of the flooded roadways, so we have to clean up those barricades. So we have areas where we haven't had a chance to get into yet, as far as making sure that there's no open storm drains to where cars could go into it. So just heed those warnings and give us a chance to get out and clear it up. So we can enjoy this holiday weekend, hopefully, and get it back in order.
All right. We know you have a busy day ahead of you. Deputy Chief Jason Cruson of the Charleston Fire Department, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's bring in meteorologist Michelle Grossman. She is tracking Idalia this morning.
Good morning to you both. Yeah, we are still looking at this as a tropical storm. So still seeing really gusty winds gusting to 60 miles per hour. We can almost completely say goodbye to Idalia, but that's going to be by this afternoon. Still seeing some really heavy rain in spots, the green showing the lighter stuff, the brighter color showing us where that heavy rain is falling. And we've been seeing this pretty much all morning long. As a result, we do have flood alerts. We have a flood watch that's in the green and a flash flood warning. That means flooding is happening now or it's imminent. So that's where it gets really dangerous. 2 million people impacted before we finally see Idalia off the coast later on this afternoon. Also looking at really gusty winds that could bring down some trees and power lines. We had some power outages. That number may continue to go up, but seeing anywhere from 30 miles per hour and up to 40, but we could see 50, 60 mile per hour winds as we go throughout the next couple of hours. Here is the track. It's kind of an interesting track. Finally seeing it off the coast as we go throughout the rest of this morning into the afternoon hours. And then it kind of makes a turn towards the north and east. So it could impact Bermuda Bermuda by later on this weekend into the early part of next week. So we're going to continue to track that. Additional rainfall as we go throughout time here. We're looking at an isolated amount of 6 inches, especially where you see that orange, that yellow color that kind of corresponds to the higher amounts. But mostly we're seeing 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. Could see some flash flooding as well, that hot pink color showing that moderate risk. And flash flooding is dangerous if you're out and about. So if you can stay home this morning, that's probably a good idea before it completely clears out. As we're looking at wind gusts, we're going to see winds gusting up to 52 miles per hour in some spots. That's where we could see those trees and power lines coming down. And also still concerned about storm surge. We're looking at rough seas, some really high waves as well. Not a good idea to be near the water over the next couple of hours. Remember that surge is a wall of water that kind of goes over dry land. So that's where it gets super dangerous, 2 to 4 feet in some spots. That's where you see the yellow. That's not the only storm. We have a new tropical system. It's Tropical Storm Jose. So now we're up to the letter J. The Atlantics are really active. This is what you want to look at because we're looking at the conducive environment for development. And we're going to continue to see some really active weather in the Atlantic over the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, we're talking about Idalia. We're also talking about heat slowly building into the middle of the country. It is hot in some spots. It's going to be hot tomorrow. It's going to be hot over the weekend and into the Labor Day weekend as well. So record warmth. We're looking at temperatures into the 90s, into the triple digits. Today, 98 degrees in Dallas. That's 4 degrees above average for this time of year. But warm as we head towards the northern plains as well. And that heat is going to expand. So we're looking at Omaha today tomorrow, into the 90s. That's above average, about 7 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. But once again, talking about triple digits in the southern plains, San Angelo into Houston, 100 degrees tomorrow in Houston. That's well above typical for this time of year. And Labor Day weekend, we want to be outside, but we're looking at temperatures near 100 degrees in Minneapolis by Sunday, upper 90s. I'm curious about Joe's dad's plans. And then we're looking at Chicago temperatures in the 90s, really warm there as well. Your Labor Day forecast, we are looking at Friday, starting out the weekend with a gorgeous day in the Northeast. It's going to be really low humidity, nice sunshine. The high pressure that's keeping us really nice is keeping any moisture from Idalia kind of impacting us, which is nice.
That's good. Knowing my dad, he'll still mow the lawn.
Of course, right? With the sweat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, what a dad.
Exactly. Michelle, thanks so much.
Sure.
We want to take a closer look at the trail of destruction left behind by Idalia as Florida is just starting to assess the damage from the storm. NBC News senior national correspondent, top story anchor Tom Yamas has the latest from Perry, which is the state's hardest hit in the Big Bend region. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. As you guys just heard there, flash flooding warnings in the Carolinas, and just behind me here, utter devastation in Florida. The effects of Hurricane Idalia are far from over. There are large portions of North Florida and the Big Bend area without power. Where we are here in Perry, this entire county is 100% without power, to give you an idea of how bad some of the situation here. In a lot of these communities, the infrastructure is crushed, and some towns are actually under curfew because of the ongoing emergencies.
This morning, the eye of Hurricane Idalia has moved on from Florida, becoming a tropical storm overnight, but still wreaking havoc in the Carolinas. In Charleston, South Carolina, tide levels reached more than 9 feet. Charleston Harbor overflowing, while nearby, severe winds sent this car flying. The storm surge also flooding the Isle of Palms, and Idalia left behind major flooding in Florida as well, turning streets into rivers.
It's going to swallow up the whole town. I've got to get to cover.
Idalia made landfall Wednesday in Florida as a Category 3 storm that spanned 350 miles in diameter. Drone videos showing the aftermath in the town of Steinhatchee, where homes and boats were submerged. Strong winds ripping a roof off of a home, while high tides causing violent waves to slam onto highways. And at one point in Cedar Key, the storm surge surpassing 10 feet.
It was the biggest that we've ever seen.
Maximum winds at landfall were near 125 miles per hour. The Big Bend area has not seen a hurricane of that strength in 127 years.
This is a giant pine tree that has crashed into a home here in Perry. There was a family inside with a baby.
It was kind of terrifying, honestly. We heard one of the trees start to crack, and our eyes just got widened. He came and he jumped over top of us.
So your husband put his body over your body to protect you?
Mm-hmm.
Governor Ron DeSantis saying recovery efforts and cleanup are out in full force.
We haven't had a storm take this path at this level since the 1890s.
What's your message to Floridians who are trapped or stranded right now?
If you are in harm's way or you are in peril, you call emergency and there will be a response.
The governor's wife tweeting that his mansion in Tallahassee also saw some damage from a 100-year-old oak tree. The family uninjured. As Florida reels through the aftermath of Idalia, the storm barreled through parts of Georgia with winds reaching 90 miles per hour.
There's been a heavy impact in South Georgia with heavy rainfall and heavy winds.
Before moving to the Carolinas. This morning, new concerns over flash flooding along the coast as the wrath of Tropical Storm Idalia sweeps through the southeast.
Now, as with tornadoes, sometimes with hurricanes, a few feet can make a huge difference, guys. There are sections of Cedar Key that are completely wiped out. But as a community leader that showed us, you know, when you see this drone video, essentially there are homes that are wiped out, but there are also homes that look like they were barely touched. It's unfortunate, one of the realities that happened during these hurricanes. A lot of water came into the Big Bend area, but we can also report that a lot of that water has receded. But again, communities are digging out this morning. Joe and Valerie.
Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We're following breaking news this morning. Dozens of people killed in a massive fire at a building in Johannesburg. We'll bring you the latest after the break.
Plus, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell once again freezing in front of reporters. More on what happened and the renewed concerns about Senator McConnell's health and ability to serve. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back with breaking news out of South Africa. More than 70 people were killed in a fire that ripped through a 5-story building overnight in the city of Johannesburg. NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Kobier has been keeping tabs on this and joins us now with the latest. So, Kelly, walk us through what we know about how this tragedy unfolded, and do we know who was in the building at the time?
Yeah, Joe, so that building is still smoldering at this hour. Rescue crews are going through every one of those 5 floors looking for any possible survivors. The fire broke out at 1:30 in the morning. People were sleeping at the time. You can see in some of the video that the fire engulfs an entire floor with flames shooting out the windows. Local officials say that about 200 people were living there at the time, including homeless families who were desperate, frankly, for housing. One veteran emergency services official said he'd never seen anything like it, that inside there were shacks and other makeshift structures. It was essentially a makeshift settlement, and that created a maze of obstructions for firefighters and essentially trapped people inside as those flames spread. Neighbors said they could hear people yelling for help, some throwing themselves out windows to escape. One witness said the fire escape was closed and some of the gates were closed as well, so people truly trapped inside. Took about 3 hours to contain the blaze, but some of those who were killed are children, including a 1-year-old child. Joe.
What a terrifying situation. I know the investigation is just getting started and it's early, but are there any signs yet of how the fire started? What are we hearing from authorities?
Yeah, so you're right. They don't know what caused the fire just yet, but it is winter in South Africa. One local government official said that it appeared people may have been lighting fires inside to stay warm. Housing is a real issue in Johannesburg, widespread poverty in that city, and a housing crisis with about 15,000 homeless people. And this appears to have been a derelict building that people were using for shelter, may have lit a fire inside to stay warm, and this was the result. But again, no confirmation yet on what caused it. Joe.
And quickly, Kelly, what's some of the reaction we're hearing from South African leaders and just that immediate community there?
Yeah, so one city official almost appeared to blame the people who were living there. She said that it's a city-owned building, that people had been told to get out, to evacuate repeatedly. They had tried to remove people from the building because of safety concerns. But one resident told reporters on the scene that she'd been living there for 2 years, that she and her family hid every time police raided it. They simply needed a place to stay. There has been political upheaval in Johannesburg as well, something like 6 mayors in the past couple of years. The newly elected mayor said that this is the result of years of neglect, and he said his government would be accountable. Joe.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Appreciate it. More international news now. Ukraine's capital was hit by one of the largest Russian airstrikes in months.
NBC News foreign correspondent Ali Arouzi has that and other world news. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Valerie. Good morning, Joe. That's right. Russia conducted its biggest airstrike on Kyiv since the spring, killing 2 people in a barrage of missile and drone attacks. Footage shows a fireball falling out of the night sky over the Ukrainian capital, detonating a massive explosion. Ukraine says its air defenses shot down all 28 missiles and 15 of the 16 drones. Over to Mexico, where about 200 protesters, mostly made up of women who are the mothers of around 111,000 people who have disappeared in Mexico over decades of violence, took to the streets demanding the government does more to locate their loved ones. Most of the missing are believed to have been abducted by drug cartels and their bodies buried in shallow graves and burnt. And finally, over to Japan, where a cafe in Tokyo is offering a unique napping experience inspired by the short naps giraffes take while standing up. Customers can have a quick snooze in a stand-up napping pod, and after their nap is done, staff will wake them up with a nice cup of coffee. And those are your international headlines, guys.
How on earth does anyone fall asleep standing up? I can't even begin to figure that one out.
They look very uncomfortable.
They do. All right. I can't make fun of it till I try it. All right, Ali, thank you so much.
Now to another health scare involving Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. After freezing during a news conference on Capitol Hill last month, the 81-year-old Kentucky senator appeared to freeze again during an event in Covington, Kentucky on Wednesday. McConnell stopped talking for more than 30 seconds after being asked whether he would run for re-election. Here's what happened.
What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026? Running for re-election in 2026?
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute.
For the latest, we're joined by NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. Explain to us what happened yesterday and what we're now hearing from Senator McConnell's staff about the incident.
Hey, Valerie, good morning. Yeah, this was a really scary moment, McConnell freezing for a period that lasted more than 30 seconds, and it was eerily similar to what happened about a month ago during a press conference at the Capitol in which Leader McConnell froze for about 20 seconds. I was there. He had a similar expression on his face when reporters asked him a question. He had to be led away. That's what happened yesterday with a member of his staff and security detail as well. And look, this is just a string of health scares for Leader McConnell after he suffered a fall and concussion back in March. He was out of Senate for about a month, and then he came back and he had a couple of health issues. Back in June, he struggled to hear a reporter's question. A month later, we had reported that he had suffered another fall at the airport. His staff, though, after yesterday's moment, being quiet as they have been in past months, saying only to NBC News, quote, Leader McConnell felt momentarily lightheaded and paused during his press conference today. They went on to say while he feels fine as a prudential measure, the leader will be consulting a physician prior to his next event. So not really illuminating on what the possible health issues are there. And I should note the Senate is set to return in less than a week.
Julie, President Biden and McConnell have known each other for many years from their time together in the Senate. How is the president reacting to what happened?
Yeah, and look, they're both around the same age. McConnell is 81 years old. And after the last time this had happened back in July, McConnell had come out and told reporters sort of jokingly that he had a sandbag moment in reference to when President Biden slipped on a sandbag a couple of months ago and tripped during that moment. President Biden, though, saying yesterday that McConnell's a friend. Take a listen to what he said.
By the way, I just heard literally coming out, and Mitch is a friend, as you know, not a joke. We always, I know people don't believe that's the case, but we have disagreements politically, but he's a good friend, and so I'm going to try to get in touch with him.
Certainly, this calls into question the age of lawmakers and those in Washington in general. I should note that most of McConnell's colleagues are standing by his side as of now.
Julie, you mentioned other lawmakers. We know this moment yesterday follows recent health scares involving fellow Senator Dianne Feinstein, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Senator Dianne Feinstein, 90 years old, the oldest member of the Senate, has her own health concerns. Of course, we heard a lot about that over the last couple of months. The Senate has been out of session for a while, but when they were in town, she did suffer her own moment during a congressional committee hearing, during a vote that was taking place. She said she didn't hear the question. She got confused momentarily. All of this bringing into question the age of senators. As I said, so far, most of their colleagues sticking by their side. You know, you had a moment yesterday with McConnell where all the members of his Republican leadership team had said they'd spoken to him. Of course, his team was trying to sort of do a good job in making sure that McConnell was presented as someone who was out there. I should note, before he made that speech yesterday, he did talk for about 20 minutes before that moment where he froze. He did hold regular events in his hometown as well. So we'll just find out what happens when he comes back to town next week. Hopefully his office has more information on his health.
All right, Julie, thank you so much.
Now to the fallout after former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani's latest legal setback. Yesterday, a judge ruled that Giuliani did defame two former Georgia election workers with baseless claims they'd committed fraud during the 2020 election. Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss, said their lives were turned upside down after a heavily edited brief clip of security footage was widely circulated online by Trump's allies. Giuliani had claimed that Freeman and Moss were passing around USB ports like they were, quote, vials of heroin or cocaine. In reality, they were passing a ginger mint. For more, we're joined by NBC News contributor, civil rights attorney, and former prosecutor Kristen Gibbons-Fedden. Kristen, thanks for joining us this morning. So it's important to point out Giuliani already conceded in a court filing last month that he had made false statements about Freeman and Moss. So in layman's terms, what happened here? What did this judge decide, and why did the judge decide it?
Well, it's interesting because Judge Howell, in this case, she didn't mince her words at all. She put Giuliani and his team on notice that, what she considered to be discovery games were going to be intolerable. So this particular ruling, Judge Howell made very clear that she considered all of the previous discovery violations where Giuliani and his legal team did not provide the evidence necessary for those two plaintiffs, Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss, to prove their case, that it was going to be inexcusable. And what she did was she cited Giuliani's veteran status as an attorney, including his formal role as a top prosecutor, and she actually entered a default judgment against him. So, Joe, as you mentioned, he already conceded that those statements were false. But in this ruling, she made very clear that she was sanctioning him for failing to preserve or produce certain evidence and that it was going to be held against him. And as a result, she found him liable by default judgment. That means there's no fact-finding stage, but in fact, that she was entering judgment against him and it was going to proceed on to an assessment of damages stage.
And that is my next question. What does come next now that the judge has made this decision? And what kind of punishment could Giuliani be facing here?
Well, it's interesting because this is a civil case, he's not going to go to jail per se. But this is really where his case rolls into that damages phase. So this is where really the gavel kind of meets the wallet. The judge is going to determine how much money Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss are entitled to, considering Giuliani's misconduct. And really, it's going to be a fact-finding stage to try to make Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss whole, as if this never happened. And what she'll do is she'll take into account any emotional distress, any failures to obtain any employment, and any other damages or impact that this has really had. And you remember the testimony that they gave before Congress and how heart-wrenching this was for them, and how it really, truly impacted in a negative way their life. And so I think the judge could render a verdict that is substantial in this case.
So as we know, Giuliani was recently indicted in Georgia, accused of election interference there, along with several others. That's a criminal case, as you just pointed out. This case with the election workers, that's a civil one still. Could this civil case, any part of it, have any impact on this criminal case?
Yeah, absolutely. But solely in the form of the evidence that was collected during the case. So the ruling should not come into evidence because there's a different burden of proof for the civil case, notwithstanding the fact that this judgment was found after default judgment. So there was no real fact finding to be made. But certainly those statements, Joe, that you were talking about earlier, those should be able to be free game into any of the cases, specifically the Georgia case. And so I would imagine that the prosecutor will be utilizing that as evidence to really make their case against Giuliani in the criminal realm.
All right, Kristen Gibbons-Fedden, as always, thank you so much.
Coming up, new information about a heart condition impacting about 1 in 4 women after menopause.
Plus, what researchers are saying could be the key to living a longer life. Dr. Natalie Azar joins us next with our weekly checkup. That's here on Morning News Now. We're back with an NBC News exclusive. The maternity ward at one California hospital is set to close later this year after the death of a 31-year-old mother back in January. NBC News Now anchor Zincle Esawa has the story.
I will not have any complications. I will have a good birthing experience.
April Valentine said these affirmations every single day. She thought she would live to see her first child, Anaya, born. But April didn't make it out of the maternity ward at Centinela Hospital in Inglewood, California.
April Valentine was 31 years old.
Now, following months of protest, that ward is set to close October 25th, 2023.
Oh, no.
Valentine's family filed a lawsuit on Tuesday, alleging in part wrongful death and professional negligence with demand for a jury trial. The Valentine family filed a complaint with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, alleging systemic and racist practices and seeking answers regarding the circumstances of her death.
We are here to amplify the story of April Valentine.
An initial inspection of Valentine's incident found Centinela failed to prevent the deficiencies that caused or are likely to cause serious injury or death. The LA County coroner ruled her cause of death on January 10, 2023, a blood clot, which the hospital failed to assess for and intervene in.
Come on, my little jitterbug.
Valentine's partner, Nija Robertson, and her sister, Keisha Cordova, were at Centinela during the labor. They allege Valentine's doctor, Gwen Allen, did not arrive to the hospital for hours.
They said, well, we can't call the doctor will cuss us out. The doctor don't like us calling her.
A formal inspection saying the hospital repeatedly failed to notify the physician as Valentine's vitals became abnormal. They allege as the hours went on, nurses were inattentive, turned her doula away despite previously greenlighting it, and pressured Valentine, who wanted a natural birth, to get an epidural. Soon after, they allege Valentine's legs began swelling and she threw up. Valentine's partner and sister say eventually April stopped breathing, but nurses did not perform CPR, so Robertson did. According to the inspection, minutes later, doctors intervened with CPR, but April died. Their baby delivered by crash C-section, unresponsive but alive. Beyond Valentine and the maternity ward, an ongoing NBC investigation found substantive instances where Centinela failed to keep records and notify physicians and family about patient pain and conditions. Following a public information request, NBC obtained statements of deficiencies and plans of correction, outlining incidents at Centinela, including failing to notify family following a drastic change in patient condition, ongoing reports of rodent activity in the hospital due to an unfixed broken door that was later fixed, and, in one case, patient death as a result of failing to ensure proper medical care. Documents say the hospital took plans of corrective action, including multiple incidents of staff counseling and re-education, random cleanliness tests, and, in at least one case, employee suspension and termination. In a statement, the attorney for Valentine's attending physician, Dr. Gwen Allen, said Dr. Allen is prohibited by federal law from publicly commenting about her treatment of Ms. Valentine. Dr. Allen did not cause Ms. Valentine's death. In a statement to NBC, Centinela Hospital Medical Center said, in part, the center disputes the allegations made against the hospital and is dedicated to delivering compassionate, quality care to all patients. The center denies allegations of systemic racism, noting that their healthcare team reflects the varied ethnic and racial makeup of the community, adding that the hospital has been recognized as a top national facility. Centinela says they're closing their maternal ward due to an exponential decrease in demand for maternal health services. Though the ward will soon be gone, Valentine's family says their fight to preserve her legacy is only just beginning.
When she gets older, what are you going to tell her about?
Her mom, I'm going to tell her her mom was an amazing woman with a great personality.
Our thanks to Zincle for that report. This story is not an anomaly. In the United States, black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause compared to white women. Medical experts say much of that is due to medically implicit bias and systemic lack of resources.
Time for our weekly medical checkup. This week, we're taking a closer look at the impact of stress and insomnia on women who are postmenopausal.
Plus, you know the term beer goggles? Well, we've got some research backing who you might approach after a couple of drinks. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us to discuss some of these health headlines you might have missed. Let's start with this first one. Our first study from the American Heart Association looks at how postmenopausal women could be developing one of the most common but potentially dangerous irregular heart rhythms. We're talking about AFib. I know people who suffer from this. What should we know?
Yeah, this one really hit home for me, actually, because my mom had a massive stroke secondary to AFib 22 days after my dad passed away, and she was a completely healthy woman. We think about, sort of the traditional risk factors for atrial fibrillation, heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, but we don't think enough about the brain and the heart connection. So in this study, a lot of this data today comes from actually the Women's Health Initiative, so a huge database, found that 1 in 4 women who are postmenopausal suffer from or can suffer from atrial fibrillation, which is this arrhythmia, which really increases the risk for stroke and other things. And they found that 2 of the biggest leading causes were insomnia and stress. Again, focusing on things other than traditional risk factors. My doctor's orders for this are simple. I say beware of caretaker stress. A lot of this happens in women. Women tend to live longer than men, and they also tend to take care of their spouses. So please, like to all our viewers out there, if you have parents, et cetera, who are caretaking, think about this. And in terms of insomnia, sleep disturbances are medical problems just like any other. If you're not sleeping well, if your parents aren't sleeping well, please have them evaluated because you can get help and it can really, really make a difference in your health.
Dr. Azar, talking about longevity now, research shows that the key to living longer or living past 90, for women, it comes to what's on the scale, having a stable weight.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
So we talk about something called exceptional longevity. That is getting to the age of 90. And these researchers, again, with the same database of women, found that women who maintained a stable weight after the age of 60 were more likely to reach the age of 90. Weight gain did not help you, but what they found was that weight loss really impeded your ability to get to the age of 90, and particularly what we refer to as unintentional weight loss. Whenever we take a history from people, they say, oh, I lost 20 pounds. That's great. Did you try? Because if you didn't try, that's an issue. Watch out, doctor's orders. Watch out for unintentional weight loss. This is important. The most fear thing of unintentional weight loss, of course, is things like cancer, but things like heart failure, depression, just not getting enough calories, hyperthyroidism. Usually unintentional weight loss is an indicator of some underlying medical illness.
And I know in the past when I've lost weight, a doctor always asks, did you intend to lose that much weight?
Eating less, you exercising more? Absolutely, yeah.
All right, finally, this last one, some researchers are trying to, I guess, disprove the beer goggle theory. This is why you went to medical school, right? For things like this. And so I guess maybe you really were attracted to the person. What's going on here?
So I think the traditional definition of beer goggles is that if you're drinking, someone who you would normally not find attractive while sober is suddenly more attractive to you. Well, they disproved that theory, and this is what they found. Liquid courage. And the best part about this study is that it sounds like fun. They had pairs of guy friends drinking and then not drinking, rating attractiveness, rating this, that, and the other thing. And what they found was that when they were drinking, the people they rated as more attractive, they were more likely to approach. So it wasn't that they found unattractive people attractive. It was kind of just they had more courage, right? Yes. But my doctor's orders are don't drink more to get to the actual beer goggle and liquid courage. And I think, I have to say it as a doctor and as a mom, just beware of your behavior when you drink. We all know that you can get into trouble if you drink too much for these reasons.
All right, Dr. Natalie Azar, thank you. We appreciate it.
Coming up, no travel partner? No problem. More people are opting to go on solo vacations.
What you need to know if you're thinking of doing the same for the Labor Day weekend. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. More than 600 fires have devastated Louisiana this month alone, and now the state is bracing for even more in the weeks to come. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber has the latest.
Oh, it's so hot. It's my sister's house. Let's see if it makes it or not.
Dramatic moments captured by a Louisiana man. Flames engulfing a home, him fearing for his life as unprecedented wildfires ravaged the state.
Don't look like the truck's gonna make it.
That voice is William McCarthy's, and that home was his sister's.
I'm just glad that they made it out alive.
Lindsay Bustamante wasn't home at the time, but she saw her brother's videos. And in a phone call told us her entire family is still trying to process what happened.
My daughter, Emery, she was crying the whole time, and she just kept saying over and over, like, we're not going to have a house. If you and your family make it out, that's all that matters, and your homes can be replaced, and everything else can be replaced.
But they also know they're lucky. Others did not survive the inferno. Louisiana state fire officials say at least 2 people have died so far. More than 1,200 first responders are working to contain the fires, but they have their work cut out for them. Right now, there are close to 100 active fires in Louisiana, and the state's dry summer and extreme heat are giving those flames even more fuel.
It's been the summer from hell, if you want to get right down to it. We're breaking records all across the state. It's going to go down in history as one of the worst summers ever for this region.
Louisiana has seen more than 500 wildfires in August alone, and state officials expect more in the weeks to come. Over 500,000 acres of land have been scorched. The Tiger Island fire is blamed for half of that, and tonight, only 50% of it is contained.
Secure your chains on vehicles so that you're not dragging those down the street and creating sparks.
Louisiana's governor pleading with the public to respect the statewide burn ban, telling them lives are at stake.
Our thanks to Ellison Barber for that report. And with Labor Day coming up, Louisiana's governor and fire officials are asking people not to cook outside because any little flame could start another fire.
Financial headlines now, and some big changes are coming to Microsoft Office 365.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other financial news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. Good morning, Valerie. Yeah, so Microsoft announcing today it will unbundle its Teams video app from Office in Europe. The move is an effort to address concerns raised by antitrust regulators. The European Commission has raised concerns bundling Teams could amount to an abuse of Microsoft's dominant market position. The FDA is warning 3 makers of baby formula to correct their manufacturing processes to better catch any bacterial contamination. The agency issuing letters to ByHeart, Mead Johnson Nutrition, and Perrigo. The warnings aren't related to any current recalls, but stem from inspections following recalls by the companies between December and March. The FDA also isn't advising parents to discard or avoid buying any particular formula at this time. And Apple is testing 3D printers to make steel frames for some of its upcoming smartwatches. Bloomberg reports now this would help reduce the time it takes to make the devices, which currently requires cutting metal parts into the shape of the device. It also has the potential to streamline Apple's supply chain. And if the tests with the watches are successful, Apple may look to use 3D printers on more products, guys.
You'll get your 3D watch, your Apple Watch much faster, Silvana. Yes. I know you're a fan.
Can't wait.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much.
All right, hard to believe, but Labor Day is just days away. And if you want to travel for the long weekend or maybe any other time, but don't have anyone to go with, you're not alone, even if you are alone.
But that's not stopping some Globetrotters. More tour companies are now seeing a rise in solo travelers. For more, we're joined by Clint Henderson. He's the managing editor for the travel website, The Points Guy. Clint, thanks so much for being here. Tell us what is behind the rise in solo travel and what are some of the benefits of traveling alone?
So I was so excited when you wanted to talk to me about this because it is one of the great undiscovered joys of life, and it's something that I do frequently. I think it's just a wonderful way to see the world. You don't have to worry about other people's logistics. You don't have to worry about other people's time off. You can just go and do exactly what you want, whether that's nothing at all or to race to every museum in a city in the world. So we've really seen this trend explode. I think what happened during the pandemic was people stuck at home really sort of assess their lives and what they wanted to do once the worst of the crisis was over. And I think what a lot of people decided was they were going to travel. You've seen leisure travel explode post-pandemic. One of the parts of leisure travel exploding like that has been the rebirth of solo travel. There's now Facebook groups, there are singles groups, there are political groups. So you can find any kind of group that you want to take as a solo traveler, or you can just book a trip on your own, which is what I do, to some random city and just check it out.
I have friends, they're a couple, and sometimes they travel together and sometimes they do solo trips. And I haven't done that myself, so I think it's really interesting. So if you've decided you do want to do that, you want to go out and see the world by yourself, what are some of the tips you have for solo travelers?
So the first thing I would say is I love to use Google Flights. You can put in your home airport and just do a search to find the cheapest destinations near you or around the world. That's what I do sometimes if I've got a sort of bug to get out there and hit the road. I like going to cities. I think a city solo trip is probably your best option. Cities like Paris and Rome, amazing places to just walk the city. Obviously, there's tons of museums and there's tons of attractions. But what I also like to do is do some undiscovered cities, like Warsaw, Poland. I went by myself, and I just looked up free tours when I got there, and I found there's lots of free tours in cities you can do. That way you're joining a group, but you're not totally alone, but you're in with a mix of couples and families. You can do that for free and then just give the person a tip at the end. I also love Viator. I've done a lot of Viator tours during my solo adventures. The one place I wouldn't necessarily always go is, and I have because of my work, is to resorts like in Bora Bora or the Maldives, couples retreats, places where there's a lot of honeymooners or people on their honeymoons or just married, because sometimes that can be a little awkward. But even in those places, I've managed to have plenty of fun on my own.
And Clinton, you just touched on this. Obviously, not all travel destinations are created with solo travelers in mind. What are your picks for some of the best travel spots, and what are some other places we should avoid?
I think one of the other places that you really want to go, you want to hit cities, because I think there's more to do for a solo adventurer. Places I would avoid are resort destinations where it's really about couples or families. You know, some of these all-inclusive resorts, which I've gone to and actually reviewed, but they're geared towards couples. So those are the places I would avoid. Also, you really want to be aware of your surroundings. I think, unfortunately, women and people of color need to be even more careful with where they're going. I'm a gay man, so I have to be careful in some places. You can still go to a lot of these places, but you just want to know the travel warnings that are in place. And you want to, if you're booking guides, I would book through your hotel. I wouldn't just book a random Airbnb on your own. I think you're better off going through a hotel where the concierge knows where you're going and has some kind of track on you.
I like the free tours tip. I think that's such a great way to explore a new place, especially if you're by yourself.
No kidding.
Clinton Henderson, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Coming up on Morning News Now, they're changing the game.
Up next, we'll introduce you to some of the top WNBA athletes balancing basketball and motherhood. We'll be right back.
All around the world, people have been capturing images of the rare super blue moon. Now, as you probably know by now, the blue part doesn't relate to the color, just the fact that it's the second super moon in a month. That's why we call it that. We're getting all these super moons because we are in a period when the moon is about 30,000 miles closer to Earth. That's the last now blue super moon until 2037. But if you missed it, don't be blue. Another regular super moon is expected to light up the night at the end of September. So check it out.
Joe, I took my own photo last night, but obviously it's not nearly as nice as the pictures behind you.
I have a thing about mocking people who take pictures of moons with their phones.
Well,
I know the cameras have gotten better, but
no, not quite as good. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Finally, this hour, NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander takes us inside the WNBA, showing us the game-changing way these pro athletes are balancing sports and motherhood.
WNBA player Cheyenne Parker just made her very first All-Star team. The 31-year-old is also balancing another first, motherhood.
You're still nursing. I'm still nursing.
Something that's even harder when she's constantly on the road. Her mom and fiance are often along for the ride to help with daughter Naomi through countless flights and away games. Like that time she was playing overseas in Italy.
I had to literally go out to the stands and grab her, like, come on. You got her from the stands. I went to the nurse. stands, yeah. And this is right before you hit the court. Yeah, this was right before the game.
Working moms are no stranger to making it work, but for professional athletes, the load can be even heavier. Cheyenne delivered Naomi by C-section. Less than 4 months later, she was back at training camp, determined.
It was a very emotional time for me because I did have those doubts.
But this season was one of her best.
Did you ever picture yourself being a ball player and a mom?
No, never.
The WNBA has expanded benefits for mothers. Players now receive their full salary while on maternity leave, up from just 50% 3 years ago. The league also provides a $5,000 child care stipend. A major step forward, but many say it doesn't go far enough.
I think what's really important to know is that the WNBA is trying. The sports industry in general is slow to move.
At the Dream, it's a team effort. Naomi comes to practices, and every player is an honorary auntie.
Do you feel like it made you a stronger athlete, being a mom?
Oh, yeah. It definitely made me tougher. It made me stronger. It shows just the strength and resilience of women in general. Mm-hmm. We are so powerful. In fact, I use that as my fuel.
Doing it all with her own personal cheerleader right by her side. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Atlanta.
Oh, great way to end this hour. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now. Good morning. I'm Valerie Castro in for Savannah Sellers.
And I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, the road to recovery in the south as Idalia heads offshore. This morning, the storm's remnants are sweeping across Georgia and the Carolinas, bringing heavy rains, flash flooding, and strong winds. Well, in hard-hit Florida, these stunning new satellite images show Idalia's wrath, illustrating just how much rainwater was dumped on the Big Bend region. Hundreds of thousands of people are waking up without power. We've got team coverage of the devastation, the aftermath, and the recovery. Also this morning, a new health scare involving Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He appears to freeze again, this time for more than 30 seconds in front of reporters. It happened at an event in his home state of Kentucky, and it is renewing the debate about age in Congress and McConnell's future. Plus, overdose antidote. It is a major milestone in America's ongoing opioid epidemic. A widely used nasal spray used to treat overdoses will soon be available over the counter. So what sort of impact could that have on overdose deaths? Our doctor is in. And deep sea dispute. Later in the hour, the ongoing battle in the depths of the Atlantic over a piece of the Titanic that's putting the U.S. government and one Georgia company at odds. Good to have you with us. We're going to begin with Idalia. The cleanup just getting started this morning after the storm tore through Florida's Gulf Coast with devastating winds and powerful storm surges.
Florida's Big Bend region was hit by Idalia as a Category 3 hurricane at a strength the area has not seen since 1896. You can see just how destructive the winds were. This gas station in Perry, Florida, toppled over by the gusts. And after hitting Florida and Georgia in a 1-2 punch yesterday, the storm set its sights on the Carolinas, bringing life-threatening conditions with heavy rain, strong winds, and flooding. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa joins us now from Perry, Florida. Maggie, Taylor County, where you are, took a pretty direct hit from the storm. Give us an idea of the damage that you're seeing there this morning.
Yeah, guys, good morning. So you saw the gas station being toppled. That video is insane. Take a look at the damage at this store also in Perry, kind of left behind. A similar scene here. This is just winds, okay? There was no flooding here, but this gives you an idea of the power of the wind shears that came through this small kind of rural coastal town. We're about an hour outside Tallahassee. There are sort of pockets of major damage throughout this town, pockets of major damage along the shoreline. Again, areas like this and also closer to Tampa is really where we saw the worst of it. We saw the wind shears here. We saw the water rescues near Tampa. And again, this is a storm that has turned fatal. We actually had 2 deaths, according to Florida Highway Patrol, blamed on this storm. In both cases, they say they were car crashes where the person was basically driving too fast for conditions as the weather picked up rapidly. A lot of people caught off guard. So just tragic circumstances and a ton of cleanup basically to get underway, guys, as you can see.
Maggie, you touched on it earlier. That area is pretty remote and rural. Do officials have an idea of how long it'll take to complete the search efforts and the damage assessment there?
Not a hard timeline that we've heard. I'll tell you, we've seen National Guard trucks coming in this morning, clearly the kinds that can go into remote areas, damaged areas where they might have to go around major road blockages. They also have heavy equipment with them, like bobcats on the tops of those trucks. So they're definitely going in clearly with a mission today. We've heard they want to get into some of the remote towns that were cut off yesterday. And it's also important to note, our reporters were asking officials, including Governor Ron DeSantis, Tom Yamas was asking yesterday, hey, what about people that we hear are cut off because rescues were going on? As of this morning, we just want to make sure everybody knows we don't have like a list or a number of people missing who we think need to be rescued this morning. It's more like areas that are cut off, but no word from officials right now that they need to get in to help people, again, who are stranded. So that's kind of the situation that we're in. It's mostly cleanup and then getting access to those roadways, guys.
Maggie, we know power is usually one of the first things to go with a storm like this. What's the latest on the power outage situation there?
I know you might be able to hear the generator actually speaking of in the background here in Perry. That's keeping the street lights going at this point. Power outage still a major issue. Close to 150,000 still without power here in Florida. Similar situation in Georgia, just a little bit less. And then as Idalia moved into the Carolinas, we have a combined 50,000 between North and South Carolina without power there this morning. So widespread power outages still across the region. And there's definitely work left to be done in that arena as well, guys.
All right, Maggie, there on the ground in Perry for us this morning. Maggie, thank you so much.
Lieutenant Scott Tumman joins us now. He's the spokesman for the Levy County Sheriff's Office. That's in Brunson, Florida. It's near Gainesville. It's about 80 miles from where we just saw Maggie reporting. Lieutenant, good to have you with us this morning. We've seen these images of Idalia pummeling towns in your county, especially on the coast. What is it you're dealing with? What is it you're seeing this morning?
Right now, it's recovery and cleanup. Concerns in the area are still standing water. We're in a region where sinkholes are very common, so I'm going to urge our residents not to drive through the water. Stay away from areas that just don't look safe. Currently, power restoration is going very well in our community. Last I checked, about an hour ago, we have about 7,000 reported power outages. So we're doing very well for the circumstances. Pods have been deployed, making sure that we have the essential needs for our coastal residents.
What was the emergency response like? Were there a lot of people who needed to be rescued during the heart of the storm yesterday?
Not during the heart of the storm. Emergency response was suspended during the heart of the storm. We had somewhere between 80 and 100 residents on the island of Cedar Key that decided to stay and hunker down. As soon as the weather kind of subsided enough for emergency crews to get out there, we immediately checked on those folks. So our rescue efforts went very, very quickly. Everybody was fine. We have zero loss of life in Levy County. That's amazing.
What was the biggest challenge yesterday? Was it the storm surge or was it the winds and rain? And what do you see as your biggest concern now moving forward?
Well, the biggest concern yesterday was the high tide cycle on the king tide at 2 o'clock. That pushed a ton of water in on these small coastal communities. So once that water subsided now, it's cleanup. These coastal communities were devastated by these floodwaters. We have a lot of homes and a lot of businesses that are damaged, and it's just going to take a while to get them up and running again.
What is your top advice for people who live in your county right now? We know the cleanup is going to get underway, assessing the damage. What is it you want people to know?
To stay safe, work smart, don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. Still, if you see down power lines, stay away from those. We don't know if somebody might be operating a generator improperly that could have recharged those lines and you don't know it. So if you're out there and you're listening, make sure that you're properly using your generators. Plug your appliance directly into a generator that's running in a well-ventilated area. Don't plug directly into your house.
Generator safety is so important in the aftermath of these storms.
Yes,
Lieutenant Scott Tumman, thank you so much. Spokesman for Levy County Sheriff's Office. We're thinking of you and your community at this time.
Thank you for having me.
Let's turn now to the situation in North Carolina. NBC News correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now from Morehead City. Julia, good morning. We see it's windy where you are. Tropical storm Idalia is hitting the North Carolina coast this morning. What can we expect to see from this storm as it makes its way across the state? What are those conditions like where you are right now?
That's right. Well, throughout the Carolinas, about 50,000 are without power. But the main concern is flooding and winds as the remnants of this storm move through these states now and out to sea at the end of Idalia. We are expecting high tide here in about 20 minutes. And so areas of eastern North Carolina could see as much as the 4-foot storm surge. Right now in Morehead City, There are some people out and about, but most are told to stay home. Or we're really just seeing bands of this storm. It can feel calm one moment, and then you're bracing yourself the next moment as bands of rain and wind come through this area. And so officials here are worried about what might come next, and they think that it's going to continue to rain throughout the day. They're still under a tropical storm warning throughout the Carolinas, state of emergency here in North Carolina as well, and schools remain closed even as far west as Raleigh.
And Julia, what are officials saying as far as the holiday weekend? Is there any advice for both locals and tourists who might be in town for the Labor Day holiday?
Yeah, they are certainly putting out some warnings, especially now as we see the last of this storm move through here. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper addressed this. Here's what he had to say.
When you do have tropical storm warnings, it's important to try to stay inside and stay off of the road for the period of time that the bad weather is here, and just batten down the hatches for a little while. You know, hopefully that if we get through this, they can still have a weekend that will be positive. But until this storm is passed, everybody needs to be careful and stay safe.
So you're seeing now, of course, officials say to stay where they are until the storm moves through here. It could be we still have some more unexpected wind and flooding still to come.
Julia, we've already seen a tornado warning go into effect this morning along the coast. How serious of a threat is this as the day continues?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. Obviously, the threat here isn't as big as it was in Florida. There were no evacuation orders here. But, you know, we're seeing some local business owners come and check in. There's a restaurant right here. They're checking to see where those water levels might be. They say it's nothing compared to what they saw in 2018 under Hurricane Florence. But there's still a lot of unexpected in this storm because it's not over. The remnants of it are still coming through here and moving over areas like Wilmington, just south of here now.
All right. We know you'll keep us posted there, Julia. Thank you so much.
Let's bring in the mayor of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Brenda Bethune. Ms. Mayor, thanks so much for joining us this morning. First of all, just what are you seeing now that the worst of the storm is behind you? What type of damage are you dealing with?
Thankfully, we have very little damage. Myrtle Beach did very well with the storm. Our beaches and sand dunes held up well. And, you know, we see what's happened in Florida, and our hearts go out to them, and we're here to help if needed. And some of our neighbors to the north of us had some tornado damage, and we're here on standby to help them as well.
As you were bracing for the hurricane or the storm to make its way to you, and you saw what was happening in Florida, the powerful winds, the storm surge, what was going through your mind, and how did you prepare in Myrtle Beach for the storm?
Well, we always prepare for the worst, and we have to, because these storms, you never know what they're going to do at the last minute. So we were very well prepared. Our crews secured the city, secured anything that could become a flying object, and they are already out working this morning for cleanup, and we are going to be open for the holiday weekend and supposed to have beautiful weather.
That's the question I guess I have. This is a popular getaway destination for so many people who might have over the last few days been thinking, well, can I go to Myrtle Beach for Labor Day? What is your message to people who have that question right now?
We are going to be ready for Labor Day, and we will be ready today. We are very quick about cleaning up. We have the best crews, and there is nothing that's going to hinder our Labor Day weekend. We have some great events planned. So I say come to Myrtle Beach. The weather's going to be beautiful, and everything is going to be perfect for people to get back down here.
The weather is most definitely going to be hot, so that might be a good time to hit the beach. Overall, Mayor, do you just feel like you're breathing a bit of a bit of relief this morning, a sigh of relief?
Absolutely. You know, these events are so stressful, but when I see what has happened in other places, especially Florida, you know, it breaks my heart. And we never know when we're going to be the next one to suffer the damage. So it's important that we are always willing to help those who do have damage, because you never know when we are going to need that help as well.
All right. Mayor Brenda Bethune, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's bring back meteorologist Michelle Grossman. She's got the latest on Idalia and where it's headed next.
Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Great to see you. And it is headed out to sea soon. We still have some lingering impacts as we head throughout the next couple of hours, and then we're going to completely say goodbye to Idalia. So right now, still seeing a tropical storm. Winds are at 60 miles per hour. Those are pretty strong for a tropical storm. It's moving fast. It has been moving fast pretty much throughout the entirety at 20 miles per hour, but still bring some heavy rain in spots where you see those brighter colors, the yellows, the reds, the oranges, into portions of Virginia, the eastern part of North Carolina, even into the Delmarva coast. We're looking at some really heavy rain. As a result, we still have 2 million people impacted by flood alerts this morning. We have flood watches, that is in the green, and also flash flood warnings, meaning that flooding is happening now or it's imminent. So a couple of places seeing some flash flooding, and that's a concern as we go throughout the next couple of hours as well. It's windy, too. That could bring down some power lines, some trees. We do have some power outages for many. We could see those numbers grow a bit over the next couple of hours. Right now, we're looking at 48-mile-per-hour wind gusts in some spots, up to 41 in others, but generally 20 to 40 miles per hour. Here is the track. We will finally say goodbye to Idalia. That is good news. It's going to move off to the east, but notice as we go throughout time here, by the end of the weekend into early next week, it's going to make a curve to the north and east and impact Bermuda. So we're not done with Idalia yet, at least we are in the U.S., but we're looking at Bermuda where we could see some impact. So we're going to continue to watch that. Rainfall today, we're looking at isolated amounts still of 6 inches. That's along the eastern parts of North Carolina, where you see the reds and the oranges and the yellows corresponding to those higher amounts. We're expecting some rain there. That could lead to more flash flooding and more urban flooding, more river flooding, and also some street flooding. And winds gusting even up to 52 miles per hour in some spots. So generally 20, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts, but we could see them gust a little higher than that. We do have storm surge concerns. This has been a concern all throughout the entirety of Idalia. We're looking at that wall of water, salt waters from the ocean that moves onto dry land. So it sort of inundates the dry land, still seeing 2 to 4 feet in some spots. That's dangerous. You want to stay away from the beaches over the next couple of hours before things start to settle down. This is not the only storm that we are tracking. We are also tracking Hurricane Franklin that will continue to move off to the north and east. And now we have a new storm, Tropical Storm Jose, also expected to curve off to the north and east, but we will continue to watch that as well. Then we have a couple areas of concern that we're watching. So the Atlantic tropics are really heating up. Speaking of heat, we're looking at some heat building into the middle of the country, into the 90s, into the 100s, not just today, but tomorrow and then into the holiday weekend. Severe storms are possible in the southwest. It's going to be cool with some showers in the Pacific Northwest. The Northeast, this is the place to be. It was so humid yesterday. We had that front that came through. That's helping to sweep out Idalia, but it's also keeping the Northeast really nice. Lots of sunshine, comfortable temperatures in the 70s, the 80s, and also really low humidity. And that's going to keep for most of the weekend, the Labor Day weekend. But we're looking at that heat expanding throughout portions of the middle of the country, the northern plains, the central plains, into the Midwest by tomorrow. Lots of 90s on the map here. We're looking at Dallas, 98 degrees, Wichita, into the 90s as well. These temperatures are anywhere from 5 up to 10 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. And then notice tomorrow, you notice that area kind of expanding. So we're warm too into the Midwest. We're looking at temperatures once again into the 90s, into the 100s. Houston, you're well above normal tomorrow. San Angelo, same story, into the triple digits. Lots of 90s in Rapid City, Denver, Santa Fe, and also Wichita. Then as we go towards the Labor Day weekend, lots of plans outdoors, finishing the unofficial end of summer here. And we're looking at temperatures into the upper 90s, near 100 degrees. You're going to factor in that humidity. It's going to feel warmer than that. So Minneapolis into the upper 90s by Sunday, also Monday. Same story in Rapid City. Chicago, you're warm too. Temperatures into the 90s Sunday and Monday. So taking a look at the forecast for the Labor Day weekend, gorgeous still in the Northeast. That's going to be the hot spot to be. We're looking at showers and storms along the Gulf Coast into Florida as well. We had those showers today in Florida along the Gulf Coast as well. So that's adding to what they saw yesterday with Idalia.
Right. Michelle, thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Coming up, we have got continuing coverage of the devastation caused by now Tropical Storm Idalia, including what's next for people in Florida who don't have flood insurance. We're going to take a closer look later in the hour.
But first, tragedy striking the South African city of Johannesburg. More than 70 people have been killed after a nighttime fire erupted in a 5-story building there. We've got the latest on the search and rescue efforts next. We're back with breaking news out of South Africa, which is dealing with one of the worst fires in its recent history. More than 70 people were killed and dozens were injured after a fire tore through a 5-story building in the city of Johannesburg overnight. Officials say the derelict building was occupied by homeless people. Emergency crews have been working to evacuate people from the site. It's unclear what caused the fire, but authorities are investigating.
There are new concerns this morning about the health of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell after he seemingly froze again in front of reporters.
The 81-year-old Kentucky senator was answering questions yesterday after giving a speech when he appeared to freeze on camera for the second time this summer. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us from Washington with the latest.
Good morning to you. And Mitch McConnell had just given a 20-minute speech and even taken questions from a group in northern Kentucky and didn't have any trouble. It was during a press conference with reporters after the speech where he once again appeared to freeze for an extended amount of time.
For the second time in 2 months, a health scare for Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. The senator freezing after being asked a question Wednesday.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
Did you hear the question, Senator?
He was unresponsive for more than 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, you all, we're going to need a minute.
McConnell's spokesperson telling NBC News that the senator felt momentarily lightheaded, but felt fine later. In July, McConnell endured a similar episode where he froze for more than 20 seconds during a press event on Capitol Hill.
It's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
He was led away by fellow senators, but later joked about President Biden stumbling at an event earlier that month.
Well, the president called to check on me. I told him I got a sandbag.
This time, it was the president offering McConnell his support.
He's a good friend, and so I'm going to try to get in touch with him.
Echoed by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who, at 81, is the same age as McConnell.
I hope he makes a full recovery and does what he thinks is best for the people of Kentucky and for himself.
McConnell missed a month of work after suffering a concussion in March, and he's one of many leaders in Washington facing questions about their age and health. California Senator Dianne Feinstein missed 3 months' worth of votes after a bout with shingles and has at times appeared disoriented during Senate hearings.
Yeah, just say aye. Okay, just aye.
And a recent poll shows that 77% of voters feel President Biden is too old for the job, a liability the president often jokes about.
I know I'm 198 years old.
And after the episode, Senator McConnell did reach out to several of his fellow Senate Republicans, including Senator John Thune, who said that McConnell sounded like his, quote, usual self. Now, he is expected to see a doctor before his next event. The Senate returns from recess next week. They have a packed agenda, including the need to pass a short-term funding bill to avert a government shutdown at the end of September.
Ryan, thank you so much.
International news now. North Korea staged a nuclear strike simulation, raising tensions with South Korea.
NBC News foreign correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us with the latest on that and other world headlines. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Valerie. Good morning, Joe. That's right. North Korea has conducted a simulated scorched earth nuclear site on targets across South Korea in an apparent response to joint military drills held by the U.S., Japan and South Korea, which the North sees as a rehearsal for war against them. Kim Jong-un described the leaders of the United States, Japan and South Korea as gang bosses who increase the risk of nuclear conflict in the region. Over to Gabon, where a group of military officers have taken over the government and arrested President Ali Bongo moments after the election body announced Bongo had won a controversial third term. Hundreds of people filled the streets of the capital, Libreville, hugging soldiers and cheering the likely end of Bongo's rule. The coup is the 8th in 3 years to take place in West and Central Africa alone. And finally, over to Spain, where some 15,000 people pasted each other with tomatoes in the annual Tomatina street battle in the eastern town of Bunol. 120 tons of overripe tomatoes were tipped into the main street for revelers to chuck at each other. The hour-long festival was inspired by a food fight between local children in 1945 in the town. And those are your international headlines, guys.
Does look
no
kind of
tomato
fun.
throwing.
It cannot smell good, though.
No, it's all right, Allie, thank you so much. Coming up, a deep sea dispute centered on the wreckage of the Titanic. Why the federal government is looking to stop one Georgia company from recovering a crucial piece of that ill-fated voyage.
But first, a major step forward in America's ongoing opioid epidemic, the widely used overdose treatment that will soon be available over the counter and online. We've got those stories for you up next.
Welcome back. There is major news this morning that could have a big impact on the country's opioid epidemic. Starting next week, the overdose antidote Narcan will be available over the counter. It's a move that experts hope will increase access to the potentially life-saving medication.
Emergent Biosolutions, which makes the drug, said Wednesday that shipments were on their way to major retailers, including Walgreens, Walmart, Rite Aid, and CVS. Narcan could also be available online from some businesses this week. For more, we're joined by NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, thanks for being with us this morning. Good to see you. For those who are unfamiliar, what is Narcan and how does it work?
Yeah, Narcan, chemical known as naloxone, is actually a very easy over-the-counter now antidote, literally an antidote to opioids. It acts at the level of blocking opioids from doing what they do to cause these unfortunate overdoses and deaths at the level of the brain receptors. And the action can literally be immediate with something like Narcan. It's available through a spray in a 2-pack. A spray that's used in the nose. And here's the good news. Even if you have somebody that you're not sure if that's been an overdose from opioids, they don't necessarily have some of the telltale signs like pinpoint pupils or problems with their breathing, you can still use the Narcan and it won't harm them if there were something else that were causing that sort of state. So there is really no lose in this proposition. It's only win-win, especially for the patient.
Yeah, and the need is so great right now. The CDC says from 2019 to 2020, the overdose death rate increased by 30%, with overdose levels reaching their highest numbers ever then in 2021. So when it comes to fighting the opioid epidemic, how much of an impact could Narcan have once it's more widely available?
It can be a huge impact, but don't forget that you still have to go to a pharmacy. You have to pay for it. We can talk about the cost. It can be a suggested retail price at about $45. That's not easy for someone to necessarily walk in. I want every family that's listening to actually have this in their first aid kit. Even if you think it may never apply to you, just having that could save someone's life. So this can go a long way, but we have a lot more to do with recognition and prevention and doing other things to reduce the harm of opioids in general and education of the public. Narcan goes a long way, but it's not the total solution.
Dr. Patel, you just touched on it. A 2-pack of Narcan is set to retail for $44.99. Some experts fear that may be too high. How big of a concern is that to you?
Look, cost is always a concern, especially any amount of cost when you have a population who might be under the age of 18, who might be homeless, who might not be able to bring that $45 forward. I applaud states like Oregon and California, which have already said that their Medicaid programs, their public programs, are going to cover the over-the-counter costs. I hope more people do this, insurance companies, public and private. That will go a long way. But at the end of the day, I think it's about everybody having this in their first aid kits, in their cars, in their glove compartments, in their purses, something that we should just have as ubiquitous as a Band-Aid. Think of it that way. And then we'll be able to kind of bridge some of those costs.
Yeah, and beyond the Band-Aid then, real quickly, what are some of the long-term things you think we need to do to get this epidemic under control?
Very quickly, number one, I think we do need to have a more comprehensive reduction in place, harm reduction programs in place, not just in schools and clinics and in workplaces, but we also need to do what we can to curb the availability of opioids in its many forms, kind of at the street and at the neighborhood level. And I think that's coming not just with law enforcement, that's coming with community activism. So I'm hoping that nonprofit groups that dedicate themselves to education and prevention can see some of this ending, hopefully before my lifetime.
All right, Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much.
Thanks.
There's a new court battle over the wreckage of the Titanic in the North Atlantic, but it is not related to the tragedy in June that took the lives of 5 underwater tourists. The fight is about whether a salvage company can recover more artifacts from the site of that famous shipwreck. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello has more on this story. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Joe, this is a talker, and as you mentioned, not related to the tragedy back in June. A Georgia company has the salvage rights to the Titanic, but U.S. law and international agreements now limit activity around the site. The government now has gone to court to stop this company that has the salvage rights from returning to retrieve a key relic, a wireless that transmitted Titanic's call for help. For 111 years, Titanic has rested some 12,500 feet down on the ocean floor. Its maiden voyage from England to New York captured on film. The terror of hitting an iceberg in the dead of night portrayed in blockbuster movies.
In an hour or so, all this will be at the bottom of the Atlantic.
Among the artifacts already recovered, shoes, silverware, fine china. But now the U.S. government is moving to block the company with the salvage rights, RMS Titanic, from recovering even more, including the ship's wireless telegraph that transmitted the SOS to passing ships. In a court filing, RMS Titanic says it hopes to return next year and may recover freestanding objects inside the wreck, including objects from inside the Marconi room, the radio room. Under U.S. law and international agreements, the wreckage is now a memorial and cannot be disturbed. The government insists the company is not free to disregard this validly enacted federal law, yet that is its stated intent.
The company's reason to be is they do all of the exhibits that have the actual artifacts from the Titanic.
David Gallo is a strategic advisor to RMS Titanic. We talked to him in June before the government's challenge.
The rules are there can be no more recovery of artifacts.
In 1996, Titanic survivor Edith Hazeman told us of the night she lost her father.
I never forget it. See all the dead bodies floating in the sea. It was terrible.
Since 1985, roughly 250 people have visited Titanic. Then, in June, tragedy. 5 people died when their submersible imploded.
It is a grave site. 1,500 people died there.
Researcher Katie Croft Bell has dived to the site herself. Even as time and the ocean's depths take their toll on the wreckage, she now thinks it should be treated with the reverence of a cemetery.
Are we actually learning anything new about it? And is that the reason to recover artifacts? Or should we just leave it alone? We have a lot of things already. Let's just call it a day and leave it with respect.
We reached out to the company, RMS Titanic, for comment. No response. No response from NOAA, the government agency moving to block this latest move to recover artifacts. But this really goes to the heart of the issue here. Is this a cemetery? This should be essentially preserved and no trespassing. Or do you collect the artifacts while you can, preserve them forever because they will soon be lost to time and the ocean? Joe?
All right, Tom, thank you so much.
Coming up, continuing coverage of Idalia and the sheer devastation it's causing in the south.
After the break, one of the many lingering questions as the storm moves out to sea, what happens to those Floridians without flood insurance? We've got some answers next.
We're back now with some big changes this year in Houston, Texas schools. The district is eliminating dozens of school librarians. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton has more on the controversial reason why and how some families are fighting back.
Cherries and blueberries.
Houston mom Jessica Campos has spent the entire summer dreading the return to school.
I feel like I've spent my entire summer fighting. So coming here, it kind of, I can breathe.
Ever since her daughter's elementary became one of more than 28 schools in the Houston Independent School District, replacing their library with a center for work and discipline.
What's happening to the Houston schools? It feels like they're being taken apart, dismantled, destroyed.
This summer, the state of Texas took over HISD, a district of almost 200,000 kids, a blue city in a red state. They replaced the elected school board members and swapped the superintendent for a charter school owner and former leader of Dallas schools. Some, like Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, say it's a hostile takeover.
Well, Houston has been in conflict with its own state government for years. Okay, so let's not be fooled.
Everyone agrees Houston schools needed to change. Some were failing. Many students fell behind in reading and math. District leaders tried to improve, and the state even gave them a B rating in 2022. They took over anyway and laid off employees and replaced libraries in underperforming schools so they could give some teachers higher salaries.
I can't afford a laptop for my kid. So books is where we get to travel, to dream.
I can't do it.
Jessica's daughter, Sophie, is starting 5th grade at one of the new education system schools.
I barely know how to read. I just started reading this grade because my English teacher helped me a lot. Or stripes.
She says the library was a place where she could practice.
I say and.
Superintendent Mike Miles understands families are anxious about change, but he argues books will still be available on shelves, and these team centers where students will work or go when they are disruptive will help kids like Sophie catch up.
In a district where there are so many kids who are struggling to read, why disrupt the library of all places?
So reading is key. We may not have librarians, but even in this room, books are on the shelves.
Do you believe librarians are important?
Every single position has value. We can't be all things to all people, and we can't have everything we want.
So does that mean you're robbing Peter to pay Paul?
No, I wouldn't phrase it that way. What I would say is we're putting in a bold, different model that works.
Jessica Campos considered busing Sophie to another school, away from her neighborhood and friends.
I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to leave those kids there.
She says parents aren't going to let their school change without a fight. Antonia Hilton, NBC News, Houston, Texas.
As Florida and other parts of the Southeast begin to clean up following Idalia, it is expected to be costly for home and business owners. UBS Bank estimates insurance claims to top more than $9.3 billion in the state of Florida alone. Florida is one of 10 states that sued FEMA earlier this year over national flood insurance policy changes. For more on this, we are joined now by Michael Heck, the president and CEO of Greater New Orleans, a region that is more than familiar with hurricanes and devastating flooding. Michael, good to have you with us. We want to point out you're part of the Coalition for Sustainable Flood Insurance that helped lead that lawsuit against FEMA. Explain to us what we should know about the suit, what it is you're arguing.
Well, thanks so much. Great to be here. What we're arguing essentially is that the current regulations under Risk Rating 2.0 are arbitrary and capricious in a couple of ways. The first is that they don't actually give credit to those of us who have made major improvements under the past regulations. The second is that they actually punish homeowners by making flood insurance unaffordable, which is against the regulations that FEMA is supposed to adhere to. And finally, the real challenge for us is that Risk Rating 2.0 is a bit of a black box. We actually don't know, and they won't tell us how the regulations are being made, so we can't check to see if they're accurate. And frankly, we don't know what to do to improve our situation.
Let's talk about what we're seeing in Florida right now. There's been widespread damage from Idalia. For anyone who is not insured, what do they need to know? What are their best options right now?
Well, if you're not insured, the first thing you need to do is just check your insurance, because although homeowners will not cover flood generally, sometimes auto insurance will. The second thing is that if you are forced to evacuate or make repairs, keep your receipts. It's possible that you will be able to claim some of that under your homeowner's insurance policy. And also, if there is a disaster declared by the president and the state, which of course will happen, then you can use those receipts to claim reimbursement.
And now's the time to be holding on to those receipts right away on day one. As people do begin to clean up and assess the damage, what are the tips you can share when it comes to dealing with the many, many insurance claims we're going to see in the coming months?
Well, if you are actually covered by insurance, the first thing that you need to do is you need to document. It's very important you take photos so you have evidence. The second thing is that you should make immediate repairs that you need, for example, to stop the spread of mold. That's critical. But don't make any permanent repairs, because if you make permanent repairs before the adjuster comes and sees your property, you can actually disqualify yourself. So even though it's kind of the chaos of war, and we know this from, of course, Katrina and most recently Ida, it is important to follow these steps to make sure that you get the most support possible.
All right, Michael Heck, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Financial headlines now. X, formerly known as Twitter, is reportedly getting some new upgrades.
CNBC's Silvana Henao has that and other money headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Valerie. Yes, so Elon Musk says X users will soon be able to make video and audio calls through the platform. In a post today on the site formerly known as Twitter, Musk says people won't have to share their phone number. Musk wants to turn X into a super app offering everything from social media and fintech to video games. The company's CEO, Linda Yaccarino, has said X will have features such as payments and banking. Speaking of X, it's updated its privacy policy, adding it plans to collect biometric data from users. Bloomberg reports the policy says based on users' consent, X may use the information for safety, security, and information purposes. It doesn't define what biometric is, but other companies have used it to describe data gleaned from fingerprints, faces, and eyes. X also plans to gather information about a user's job and education history to recommend potential jobs, share with potential employers when you apply for a job, and to show you more relevant ads. And Apple will soon stop providing customer support on social media through X, YouTube, and the Apple Online Forum. Mac Rumors reports the company is getting rid of those staff roles later this year, and the move will impact more than 150 people, although Apple will offer them the opportunity to switch to a phone-based support position. Last year, Sony stopped offering support for PlayStation customers through X, as did Netflix, guys.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Turning now to recovery efforts in Maui as the island looks to rebuild after those deadly wildfires tore through the historic town of Lahaina. Officials now saying they are wrapping up their search and recovery mission and moving into the next phase.
This as Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have come together to help Maui residents whose lives have been impacted by the wildfires. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from Maui with more. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, Valerie, good morning. This is pretty incredible. Oprah Winfrey and The Rock have started the People's Fund of Maui with $10 million. That fund will provide $1,200 a month to all of the adults displaced in both Kula and Lahaina to help with their costs. And guys, this comes as search and recovery efforts at this point are virtually finished. But the fallout most certainly is not, as people want to know how this could have happened in the first place.
This morning, some relief for the people of Maui from two of Hollywood's biggest stars.
We've been meeting with community leaders, our kupuna, for the past couple of weeks, and just trying to figure out what we could do.
Oprah and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, coming together to aid communities impacted by the wildfires, launching a fund with an initial donation of $10 million, but also asking for more help.
In this time of need, you want to take care of the greatest need of the people, and that's giving them money.
The two reflecting on the devastation of the fires.
Oprah lives here in Maui. I was raised in these islands. My family are buried in these islands. It's going to take a long time to rebuild. Probably get a little worse before it gets a little better, but we're here doing what we could do.
All this as Maui is reeling, but working to rebuild. Weeks after the fires ripped through the historic town of Lahaina. Search and rescue crews have all but finished their operations, while the death toll still officially stands at 115, the same it's been for weeks, with fewer than half of those victims actually identified. While those just searching for some peace want answers about how and why this happened. Scarred residents say they had no warning of the fast-moving fire, with officials promising to overhaul the use of their siren system.
We see tremendous value in incorporating more tools into our arsenal.
This latest briefing, contentious.
Let me finish, brother.
The mayor questioned about who was calling the shots at the Emergency Management Center as Lahaina was burning.
I'm not sure who was in charge. I think Herman Andaya was still in charge. He just wasn't present. He was in contact with his team, I guess by phone.
The questions mounting as more relief comes in. President Biden now pledging $95 million to rebuild infrastructure and to harden Hawaii's electric grid.
We're doing everything we can to move heaven and earth to help you recover, rebuild, and return to your lives.
And the president says that money will go into everything from replacing aged power poles to smart meters that can help guys to pinpoint exactly where problems arise. As for today, we are under a red flag warning until 6 p.m. local, which is to say that there are dry fuels and super windy conditions that create extreme fire dangers. So we'll be watching that very closely. Joe and Valerie, back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you so much.
Coming up, oysters, believe it or not, they were once a culinary staple here in New York City. But years ago, rampant pollution, among other things, kind of changed all that.
But there is some good news this morning. Those magnificent mollusks are staging a comeback, and our Harry Smith has that story next.
Welcome back. A new world record for attendance at a women's sports event looks to have been set in Nebraska yesterday. A little over 92,000 fans filled Lincoln's Memorial Stadium to watch the NCAA champion Nebraska Cornhuskers volleyball team beat Omaha 3-0. The paid event appears to have broken the previous attendance record for women's sports that was set last year in Barcelona at a Women's Champions League soccer game. These volleyball fans are serious.
Love to see that. My goodness, what support.
When you think about New York, cuisine, pizza, and hot dogs might be the first thing to pop into your mind. But in Long Island, oysters are on the menu.
That's because the Great South Bay is working to restore the once thriving oyster population, and they're doing it with the help of the community. NBC News correspondent Harry Smith has that story.
At an old beach club aside Long Island's Great South Bay, there is something going on that looks like a cheesy science fiction show from the 1970s.
And the lights do what? They just help them grow. Algae grows better with red and blue lights, so that's why we have red and blue LEDs specifically.
Yeah. LEDs to grow algae, explains Matt Layton, because that's what oysters eat. And here at the Islip Town Hatchery, where Matt is manager, they grow a lot of oysters.
And how many oyster larvae are in these things?
Millions.
Millions.
We could have 1 million plus per conical, depending on how well the spawn goes.
Really? A million plus? 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many are there?
There's 32.
So potentially 32 million oyster larvae in just this room alone.
And when this room's full, yes.
That is crazy.
We're doing everything we can. Help bring back the oysters.
Here they grow tiny oyster eggs into mini mollusks, which they in turn sell to oyster farmers.
You buy them by the thousand.
Buy them by the thousand.
Buy them by the thousand.
Right.
So typically an order for us would be 100,000, 200,000 a year per farmer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, they're not messing around.
These little bivalves will grow up to be famous Blue Point oysters, so good Queen Victoria would eat no other.
They can only be called Blue Points if they were grown in the Great South Bay, just like champagne can only be champagne if it's from Champagne, France. They can only be Blue Point oysters if they're from our waters.
That's it. There should be a little trademark on these guys.
A little stamp for each one.
Out on the bay, you see the oyster farms, plots purposely laid out and leased by the town of Islip. The purpose, to restore a once thriving industry and to restore the environment.
So is this your farm? Is this your oyster farm?
This is our farm, yeah.
How big?
It's a total of 6 acres.
6 acres.
Sixto Portilla is a college professor turned oyster farmer. He's witnessed the environmental change firsthand. Oysters popping up well beyond his field.
Because there are natural sets now on pilings, on rocks, jetties, all over. And these oysters were not here beforehand. They were here 100 years ago, but they haven't been here in recent history.
That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. We're really having an impact, you know. I credit the town of Islip for having the initiative.
In nearby Bayshore, we thought it appropriate to taste the local fare at Salt and Barrel Restaurant with proprietor Ryan Flynn.
What do you think it means to your customers to know that these oysters came from 10 minutes that way?
I think we live in a culture that people want to know where their food is sourced from. So knowing that it comes in the back door less than 2 miles away to create a real tide-to-table experience, I think it's really special.
Tied to table.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that phrase before.
Islip Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter told us their 125 acres of bay bottom is about leased out. So
we got permission from the New York State DEC to do another 1,500 acres.
Do another 1,500?
1,500 acres out there in the bay. And we have a waiting list of people clamoring to be there. So the possibilities are just so exciting.
Queen Victoria, would be impressed.
How cool is that?
That is so
That's
cool.
really, really
That's
cool.
incredible.
These kinds of things are actually happening all up and down the East Coast, in the Gulf Coast, on the West Coast. This kind of this aquaculture. And I have a quick quiz for you.
Yes.
All right. Oyster, bivalve, or mollusk?
I like both. It's, yeah.
Mr. Damron, 7th grade biology teacher at Memorial Junior High School, would put you in the head of the class.
Okay, oh, good. See? What was your answer?
I said all of the above.
Yeah, see, there we go. There you go. We have it. This was a tough assignment for you, I can tell.
Well, you know, the thing that's amazing to me about it, as these things, as the farms grow, these things spread on their own, right? They say up there they're seeing scallops in the water in the Great Bay. They haven't seen them in decades. Wow. So there are other kinds of what happens in that atmosphere creates better water, which creates habitat for things that might not have not been there in years.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
Amazing. So you got yourself a few acres in the bay now, right?
Well, maybe that could be. Retirement is not so far off in my horizon. I might become the great oyster farm.
You could do Tide to Table.
I know, that's what
On
it's
Long
all
Island.
about.
Great. I hadn't
Do you
heard that
like
either.
oysters?
I do like oysters.
You like oysters?
I love oysters. There we go. We'll go into business with
Get the
you,
blue
Harry.
points. Get the blue points.
Harry Smith, as always, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.